Chapter 6, Pratyahara and Dharana, Part 1. The next step is called Pratyahara. What is this? You know how perceptions come. First of all, there are the external instruments, then the internal organs acting in the body through the brain centers, and there is the mind. When these come together and attach themselves to some external object, then we perceive it. At the same time, it is a very difficult thing to concentrate the mind and attach it to one organ only. The mind is a slave. We hear be good and be good and be good taught all over the world. There is hardly a child born in any country in the world who has not been told do not steal, do not tell a lie. But nobody tells the child how he can help doing them. Talking will not help him. Why should he not become a thief? We do not teach him how not to steal. We simply tell him do not steal. Only when we teach him to control his mind do we really help him. All actions, internal and external, occur when the mind joins itself to certain centers called the organs. Willingly or unwillingly, it is drawn to join itself to the centers, and that is why people do foolish deeds and feel miserable, which, if the mind were under control, they would not do. What would be the result of controlling the mind? It then would not join itself to the centers of perception, and naturally, feeling and willing would be under control. It is clear so far. Is it possible? It is perfectly possible. You see it in modern times. The faith healers teach people to deny misery and pain and evil. Their philosophy is rather roundabout, but it is a part of yoga upon which they have somehow stumbled. Where they succeed in making a person throw off suffering by denying it, they really use a part of pratyahara, as they make the mind of the person strong enough to ignore the senses. The hypnotists, in a similar manner, by their suggestion, excite in the person a sort of morbid pratyahara for the time being. The so-called hypnotic suggestion can only act upon a weak mind, and until the operator, by means of fixed gaze or otherwise, has succeeded in putting the mind of the student in a sort of a passive morbid condition, his suggestions never work. Now, the control of the centers, which is established in a hypnotic patient or the patient of faith healing by the operator for a time, is reprehensible because it leads to ultimate ruin. It is not really controlling the brain centers by the power of one's own will, but is, as it were, stunning the patient minds for a time by sudden blows which another's will delivers to it. It is not checking by means of reins and muscular strength the mad career of a fairy team, but rather by asking another to deliver heavy blows on the heads of the horses to stun them for a time into gentleness. At each one of these processes, the man operated upon loses a part of his mental energies, till at last the mind, instead of gaining the power of perfect control, becomes a shapeless, powerless mass, and the only goal of the patient is the lunatic asylum. Every attempt at control which is not voluntary, not with the controller's own mind, is not only disastrous, but it defeats the end. The goal of each soul is freedom, mastery, freedom from the slavery of matter and thought, mastery of external and internal nature. Instead of leading towards that, every will current from another, in whatever form it comes, either as direct control of organs or as forcing to control them under a morbid condition, only rivets one link more to the already existing heavy chain of bondage of past thoughts, past superstitions. Therefore, beware how you allow yourself to be acted upon by others. Beware how you unknowingly bring another to ruin. True, some succeed in doing good to many for a time by giving a new thread or new trend to their propensities. But at the same time, they bring ruin to millions by the unconscious suggestions they throw around rousing in men and women that morbid, passive, hypnotic condition which makes them almost soulless at last. Whosoever therefore asks anyone to believe blindly or drags people behind him by the controlling power of his superior will does an injury to humanity, though he may not intend it. Therefore, use your own minds, control body and minds yourself. Remember that until you are a diseased person, no extraneous will can work upon you. Avoid everyone, however great and good he may be, who asks you to believe blindly. All over the world, there have been dancing and jumping and howling sections who spread like infections when they begin to sing and dance and preach. They also are a sort of hypnotists. They exercise a singular control for the time being over sensitive persons, alas, often in the long run to degenerate whole races. Aye, it is healthier for the individual or the race to remain wicked than be made apparently good by such morbid extraneous control. One's heart sinks to think of the amount of injury done to humanity by such irresponsible yet well meaning religious fanatics. They little know that the minds which attain to sudden spiritual upheaval under their suggestions with music and prayers are simply making them passive, morbid, and powerless and opening themselves to any other suggestion, be it ever so evil. Little do these ignorant, deluded persons dream that while they are congratulating themselves upon their miraculous power to transform human hearts, which power they think was poured upon them by some beings above the cloud, they are sowing the seeds of future decay, of crime, of lunacy, and of death. Therefore, beware of everything that takes away your freedom. Know that it is dangerous and avoid it by all means in your power. He who has succeeded in attaching or detaching his mind to or from the centers at will has succeeded in Pratyahara, which means gathering towards, checking the outgoing powers of the mind, freeing it from the thraldom of the senses. When we can do this, we shall really possess character. Then alone we shall have taken a long step towards freedom. Before that, we are mere machines. How hard it is to control the mind. Well, has it been compared to the maddened monkey? There was a monkey, restless by his own nature, as all monkeys are. As if that were not enough, someone made him drink freely of wine, so that he became still more restless. Then a scorpion stung him. When a man is stung by a scorpion, he jumps about for a whole day, so the poor monkey found his condition worse than ever. To complete his misery, a demon entered into him. What language can describe the uncontrollable restlessness of that monkey? The human mind is like that monkey, incessantly active by its own nature. Then it becomes drunk with the wine of desire, thus becoming or increasing its turbulence. After desire takes possession comes the sting of the scorpion of jealousy at the success of others. And last of all, the demon of pride enters the mind, making it think itself of all importance. How hard is to control such a mind?